It has been a bit of a turbulent time for Alberta's new premier, Danielle Smith. She's either had to clarify comments or apologize at least 3 times now since she's become the new leader of the UCP. Rachel Notley and the provincial NDP have pounced on the premier for some of the perceived missteps. Some are also questioning how much support Premier Smith has in her own caucus since winning the leadership. Well, to talk more about this is Vince Byfield, a political podcaster and son of the late journalist Ted Byfield of the Alberta Report. Vince joins us from Edmonton. Vince, welcome back to Bridge City News. Great to have you on today.
Great to be back. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the NDP trifecta. So we have Jagmeet Singh federally, BC's NDP government, and Alberta's Rachel Notley. So do you foresee them applying a coordinated amount of pressure on Danielle Smith and the UCP?
Well, I can't speak for the NDP. But I would expect them to do that. I don't think they're going to have much effect. I think the more that Jagmeet gets involved in Alberta politics, the better it is for Danielle Smith.
Oh boy. All right. Okay, so how much of a threat are these three for the UCP leading up to the Alberta provincial election next May?
The big one is Rachel, right? She's the threat. She's trying to now come across as middle of the road. She's trying to come across as being pro oil and gas, which is unbelievable. But nonetheless, that's what she's trying to do. And the question is will Albertans buy it? Really, we have to. I think the record speaks for itself in this regard. The utter destruction she did on the coal industry is just a taste of what she can do to oil and gas once she gets her hooks into it. So. I think that I'm hoping, I believe that Albertans are eminently sensible as long as they are critically informed by outlets such as yourself.
Okay. Well, I know that you don't really want to speak to the NDP or anything like that, but we did see earlier this week the federal NDP foreign affairs critic demanding an apology from Smith over comments she made in April in regards to Ukraine. So she has since apologized. Do you think that she did the right thing, or do you think she's backpedaling? Do you think that that looked good for her, looked bad for her? Should she have stood by her original comments?
I hope they adopt something else on their playbook. They're going to have a very rich minefield, quite frankly. She was broadcasting full time for 6 years on Calgary. That's something like 4,000 hours of airtime, and everything that she said. There's going to be things where she misspoke. It's guaranteed. Where does this end? Nobody is perfect. Danielle Smith never said she was. I mean, how far back are they going to go? Are they going to start asking about, when she discovered that there was no Santa Claus, right? Are we going to, this gets a bit ridiculous over time.
That's the
when
thing
is
about
the Easter
politics,
Bunny episode coming?
Yeah, that's the thing about politics. Once you get in there, everything you've ever done in your entire life is going to be looked over with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah. It gets a bit tiresome. But if that's all the NDP are going to do, then I think she's in good shape.
All right. Okay. So speaking of the federal NDP, we saw that the recommendation of Jagmeet Singh for the incumbent progressive mayor of Vancouver lost in a landslide to Vancouver businessman Ken Sim, who became Vancouver's first Chinese mayor. So I guess voters in the Lower Mainland didn't listen to Singh.
No, surprise. I think Vancouver is doing the best thing for Vancouver. It's really a breath of fresh air. I remember when Gordon Campbell was mayor of Vancouver, and he was one of the best things that ever happened to that city. And so I'm so pleased, and it's really nice to see a Chinese mayor. I wish we saw more. The Chinese community. I'm very biased. I married a Chinese woman, and so I think they are just a fantastic community, a huge boon for Canada. So they are. I would love to see more Chinese involved in politics, quite frankly.
All right, then. Okay, so let's circle back now to Alberta politics. So what does the UCP need to be doing after Smith potentially wins her seat in Brooks Medicine Hat next month?
Well, I think we now have a marriage, right? We the group that I'm involved in, Take Back Alberta, we have successfully, I think, brought back a large component of the what would normally have splintered off into lots of little parties back into the UCP. Ideally, we can keep that marriage together. That's the big challenge, all right. Already, we're seeing people like Pastor Arthur Pawlowski moving forward with an independence movement, and they're going to challenge, obviously, in Medicine Hat. So it's a bit of a test to see what happens, how much of a dent they're going to have in this by-election. I think it'll be a very there will be signals. I'm actually more concerned about the splintering of the vote than I am about the NDP. And so we'll see what happens. I don't think it's a big threat, frankly, because I very much admire Pastor Pawlowski because I totally think that he did the right thing, standing up for freedom of religion, freedom of worship, and I salute him for what he did. That said, I don't think you can walk right out of the pulpit and right into political leadership.
Or right out of jail in this case.
Yeah, that's right. So I think that they've got a lot to learn. Politics is a blood sport, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I think it's going to make the by-election, frankly, interesting.
It's going to
So
be
I'm looking forward to it.
so interesting. Yeah, you are definitely not wrong there. Okay, so Vince, you're running for a director position in the UCP. Can you tell our viewers what this means and why it's important?
The UCP, like every provincial party in Alberta, has a board of directors, and the when the UCP and the original Wildrose Party became one, they adopted mostly the rules and the bylaws of the Wildrose Party, and so that made it a very powerful board. It has more power than is normally accorded to a board, and but it has not been exercising that power. And case in point was when we had the SGM back in the springtime. Uh, Premier Kenny, just out of the blue, just days before the vote was about to take place, switched it from a in-person vote at Red Deer to a mail-in vote, and violated a whole bunch of the rules of the party, and the board did nothing. Like they just did every so the board is very much supposed to be designed as a counterbalance to the power of the premier. So our group has said that we need to really beef up the conviction of the board and to bring on much more experienced individuals to that board so that that board can function as it is supposed to function, as a source of basically a source of sober second thought for the premier, so that if the premier is making moves that are viewed as rash by the people that brought him or her into power, that board will be able to voice that in a manner that that will hopefully be heard, right? So that's what we're trying to do. We have there are for the first time in the history of the UCP, there are actual elections going on for that board. Up until now, it's almost always been almost entirely acclaimed. So it will be exciting. There's 28 candidates running for 9 positions.
Wow.
5 of those positions are regional positions, meaning one from Alberta North, Alberta Central, Alberta South, one from Edmonton, one Calgary. Those positions are elected for a term of 2 years. So every year, one of those is up. And I'm running for the position, the regional directorship in Edmonton. Now, on top of that, there's another 6 vice presidential positions. 4 of those are up for election this time round: VP Finance, VP Policy, VP Communications, VP Membership. And so we have candidates, TBA endorsed candidates for all of those positions, a total of 11 TBA supported candidates running out of the 28. So it's going to be a fun election. It's going to be a much more fun AGM than is normal, and I've been enjoying the whole process. So
Wow. Okay. Well, you mentioned two things there that I want to ask sort of follow up questions
yeah,
to. One being, okay, so you mentioned the board, which makes me think about the Alberta Health Services Board and Danielle Smith wanting to kind of get rid of
yeah.
that. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that that's a wise move, or like, are you like, oh yay, Danielle, for making that move there?
The dismissal of Dina Hinshaw, and right now moving in a consultancy. It should be pointed out, this is not very well known, but I don't think I'm leaking stuff but she has been reaching out to Raj Sherman. Now, I'm not sure if you know Raj. Raj Sherman was he wanted to run in the leadership race. He would be sort of classified as a quote unquote a red Tory, but the man is eminently qualified in terms of his background with health. He was an emergency doctor for years. He trained emergency doctors. I just was talking to him earlier this morning. The guy is full of really smart ideas when it comes to what to do with Alberta Health, and he is on record as saying the move to consolidate all the boards into one monster board would be a terrible call. And he's been proven absolutely right. So the guy is full of energy. So I do believe, don't be surprised if you start hearing the name Raj Sherman popping up in conversation.
Interesting. You heard it
yeah,
here first. Bridge City News.
yeah,
And then, secondly, Vince, you mentioned Jason Kenney.
yeah.
Has Kenney returned your text? I know last time we were speaking, you were talking about that
No,
personal
no,
relationship you had with him, and there's the
yeah,
politician Jason
no.
Kenney and the friend.
Oh,
And
I appreciate you concerned about that relationship, and so the short answer is no. He hasn't returned my text, and I don't. I guess I'm not going to be getting a return call any day soon, but I will always hold out hope that he will let the past be the past. I really believe that he has a lot to offer. But right now, I think that the best thing for Jason is to take a break, because emotions can run very high, and we can make decisions in the heat of those emotions that are not good long term. I'm hoping that he steps back, enjoys life. He worked really hard, and he's done so much good for this province. I know that I can. There are people in the TBA crowd who do not think that way. That they are very angry with him and have very hard to forgive him. Just like there's people who have a hard time forgiving Danielle. Uh, we're very hard on politicians. We just are. They're regular people. They're trying to do the best thing, and I know Jason worked really hard, and did a lot of good things. I totally applaud his work on the curriculum. It was badly needed, and so I'm hoping to see the day when he re-enters politics uh, in a very constructive way. Right now, I don't see that happening. It's normal for the outgoing premier to meet with the incoming premier. Even President Obama met with Trump when he was leaving, and Jason said no to Danielle, which is a bit surprising because I don't believe that Danielle has ever said anything sort of openly nasty about Jason ever. So if there's ill will, it's very much being harbored by Jason himself, and so yeah, I'm hoping that Jason moves on, gets past that, and that we can all honor him as the way he ought to be honored for all of the good work that he's done. We will obviously we disagree on certain decisions made, but at the end of the day, he's a great Albertan.
Vince, thanks so much for sharing your time with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless.
Political pundit and son of the legendary late journalist Ted Byfield, Vince Byfield, joining us from Edmonton today.